Hi everyone, it's Andrew here, and welcome to the second edition of This Week on Stitch. A lot's happened in a week, it's amazing. You'd think with coronavirus and all being in lockdown that, all the weeks would blend together, but it's incredible. It's been a crazy week, and our thoughts go out to everyone, obviously, who are going through some really difficult times right now. One thing that we've noticed in the community, obviously it's a great way to stay connected even when there's chaos outside. So stay safe everybody, and please stay connected. I wouldn't say we had an overwhelming response to the first edition, but we did have a number of people write in to say that they really liked the idea of staying in touch with what's happening in the community. I would love to get a couple of people along for one of these videos and we can have a chat. So, if you've got a story to tell, please write in and let me know. We do have a couple of things in this week's edition to tell you about that some members are getting up to. So let's get into it. So first, I did promise last week, how do I do this? I did promise last week that we'd talk a little bit about the bad news. So, and I'm not meaning bad news. I don't know if you've seen my eye. I've had a really fun time with some kind of eye. It's not an infection. It's some kind of condition where it's blowing up like a balloon, and I'm attacking my own body. But no, I'm talking about Stitch in Crisis. So if you haven't seen or read the article on the Stitch blog, please do so. You can find it here. It's called Stitches in a Crisis, and we need your help. That's your help. You can find the Stitch blog on the Stitch homepage, stitch.net blog, just up here. Oh, there you go. I'm not really good at this weatherman thing yet. But you essentially, the story is this. We hit coronavirus. It's been a crisis for so many people for so many reasons. But for a lot of reasons, for Stitch, it's been a disaster. We've had, as a result of the crisis, we were getting funding from health plans just because of the positive impact we had on people's lives. Our membership fees don't actually cover very much of our operating costs. And that all got pulled because in the brave new world, well, number one, everyone's in shutdown and in a crisis of their own, but also they have obviously not a great interest in getting people together in person. As you know, we've done a lot to kind of create an alternative way of getting connected, which is fantastic, and I'm really, really enjoying seeing what's happening in the community, but it's had a really, really critical impact on us as a community. So in the article, I write about some of the things that you can do, and I mean you can do to help the community. And it lists out 6 things. There's a bunch of other things, but there are 6 really important things. And you don't have to do all of them, but whichever one you can do obviously makes a positive difference for everyone. It starts with your membership. And now that we're in a world where we only rely on memberships to sustain the community, that includes product development, support, insurance, everything we do. I don't know if you know, but every time someone does a video call on Stitch, every one of you, it costs us $1. So someone's got to pay for that somehow. So, so choosing the right membership is really, really key. But please don't feel under pressure to choose something that you can't afford. Stitch is there to help people. We do have a public membership for people who can't afford to be a member. So there are other ways to be a positive contributor if you can't pay to be a full member of Stitch. If you are a full member, what's fantastic is if you reach out to new members and tell them about the community. Often when people join, they're a little bit suspicious because, most websites are pretty dodgy. And it's hard to believe how great the community is, and it's full of all these people who just want to have positive influence on each other's lives. So they only really get that impression when they get a connection from someone in the community. So please, when you see new members in your area join, you now get an email, you can reach out to them and say hi. You can get involved. That's really the number one thing. So if you're in an area, I guarantee you there are people around you on Stitch, but they're just not engaged yet. So suggest things, reach out to them. If you see someone posting an event, just go along because they're taking that first step. You really want to reward them. Everyone who's taking a step to make something good happen, it really needs to be recognized. So get involved where you can. You are allowed to invite new members. So every time you get invited to an event, please forward it on to as many people as you can. That's a fantastic help. Write a review of Stitch. That can really help. And finally, we have a volunteering program. So if you can't afford a full membership, or you want to get involved even more than you can today, check out our help articles about volunteering. You'll see some events and activities. We'll talk about it as well, but go to the support site and look at volunteering. We can help you with boosted membership so you can get more involved and help contribute that way. So even if you're financial constraints. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much. Please read the article and see how you can help. What's been fantastic is now the good news. So that article went out. We shared it with a bunch of our members last week. You might have seen the article, you might not. You might have seen the newsletter. But we've seen a fantastic response. So I got asked this week about how Stitch is going in response to everything. And while we're at the end of, just came to the end of May, we were losing, after we fell off a cliff in April, financially about $50,000 a month that we just weren't able to afford. That's been reduced by about 30%. So we're still in financial freefall, but the parachute is starting to kick in. And as I said, we kind of want to turn that parachute into a hang glider, or maybe a rocket ship, something. But it's actually heading in the right direction, and that's really based on the contributions of anyone who's listening to this has played a role in that. So that's fantastic. I'm really sure we're going to keep the community alive based on the response we've had from our members. So thank you. Here's another example, actually. So one of the things we ask people to do is write a review. If you think the Stitch community is great, tell everybody. You can go and review it in the App Store if you've got an iPhone, on the Google Play Store if you've got an Android phone. And this was from one of our members who talks at length about, really what Stitch is like for them as a, the experience they've had as a real member. We do have people who write reviews who either are fake or maybe they tested Stitch out and they never got engaged because they were in an area, so they were disappointed. But if you are engaged and you've had an experience, please tell the world about it, because it just gives an antidote to some of that kind of real negative stuff that people who don't really know any better write. Of course, if you don't think we're great, that's cool too. We're not pretending to be something we're not, but we're doing our best. So that's really good news. A couple of things you might be interested in. We're starting to get a little bit of press coverage about what we're doing. So here's an article on a website called Global Health Aging. There was another one on seniors lifestyle last week. If you're ever interested in the press coverage we get at Stitch, so you can go to stitch.net press. And if you have contacts in the media, or you know how to get stories, or even you have stories of your own, please reach out. We have a growing number of journalists who are interested in the stories that we might have to promote the community. And of course, that has a massive knock-on effect of then growing and getting more members to participate, which is awesome. Another good news story. So this is a ukulele. And if you've been on a call with me recently, you might have heard me talking about ukulele. It's my new favorite example. So one of our members in rural Australia, so this is Annie. She's in, if you're not from Australia, you probably don't know, but Armidale is about 8 hours drive from Sydney, a long way away. And Annie's been a member for a while. She's driven down to Sydney for a few occasions, but it's a long way to go and there aren't many people in her area. But with this transition to this new virtual world we're all involved in, Annie reached out and said, you know what, I've been on the forums and we've been talking about learning the ukulele. Really like to do that. Seems like a lot of fun. And how can I do that on Stitch? And the thing is, we weren't really set up for that. The community was really based on doing things just in your local area. And because, I've made the mistake of saying for a long time, hey, don't be online, get out in the real world. But actually, we're now discovering there's a version of online, particularly with video, that actually really, really is the next best thing. And it particularly is good at finding people with specific interests that may not live in your area. Annie might not find very many people who want to play the ukulele in Armidale, but in the Stitch community more broadly, she can. So so Annie reached out to us and we said, well, actually, I think we can do something there. So on Monday next week or Tuesday, we're hoping to launch a new feature that allows you to create interest groups for specific things like ukulele. It doesn't need to be ukulele or musical. It could be anything. Social justice. It could be, heavy metal rock music, if you like. But how do you reach out and connect with other people? And Annie will then be able to post events in that group that people around the world will see, and be aware of that group, that global group that they can join if they want to learn the ukulele. And he had already got connected with some of our members in the US and Canada. One of the Canadian members then found a teacher. It's such a great story. Like, whoa, okay, this is a way to get connected with people with a similar interest. I think that's fantastic, and we would love to see a lot more of that. So you'll see an announcement about it next week. But once that features out, if you've got particular interest in not just meeting general people for a Friday night chit chat, but something specific that you're interested in, we think this will be fantastic, and we'd love to see as much of that sort of thing happening as possible, because it not only makes the community bigger, but it makes it kind of deeper and richer and more varied. Another example is carers. So Chrissy from the UK is recently joined, and she's volunteered to create a group for carers, initially in her area, but maybe even broader, again, connecting people who might be struggling with similar issues and want to reach out and help each other and so on. So these are the sorts of things we're going to see a lot more of, and you can be more involved in thinking creatively about who you'd like to meet on Stitch. All right, another couple of things people have been asking, this right towards the end, people have been asking about what these things are showing up on, these badges showing up on profiles. I'll be updating the help articles later today. Essentially, they're just letting people know that you're on a Community Plus or Community Manager. I think I might have got the colors around the wrong way there. Anyway, depending on your level, and these are the people who've expressed an additional level of kind of financial support, so we give them a little gold star. And we'll also be introducing some other badges later on about people who've been long-time members and so on. So that's if you've got questions about that. And that's pretty much it. So that's hopefully not too long. I've babbled as I normally do, but it's Friday here. I've had a long day. We've just come off the back of a USA-wide get-together, which was hilarious. So I'll be setting up a couple more events for the US, the UK, and so on. But please remember, it's not about the events that we create. It's about the events that you create for the community. So get in there. You get the more out of Stitch. You get more out of the Stitch, the more you put into it, and just like life in general. So have a go, and we'll see you next week. Bye.